Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay? I'm trying to figure out where the on-off button is. Well, it's my blessing and privilege to be back with you again. Anytime I come to this particular church, I always have the feeling I'm coming home. You've been so kind and generous to me over the years that it's always a privilege to be with you. And I'm happy to say, from my own selfish point of view, I'll be here till next Monday, a week. So if there's anything I can do to be of help to you or service to you, please don't hesitate to call upon me. If you would like my personal phone number, I'll have Donald Trump give it to you. No, I'll be in the back. Here it is. I'm having so much fun with this. It's just... Well, as you know, this is the year we read the Gospel of Mark. So that's why tonight we read the Gospel of John. So beginning last week, on the 17th Sunday in Ordinary Time, all the way to the 21st Sunday in Ordinary Time, even though this is the year which we read Mark, all the Gospels will come from John. The 6th chapter of the Gospel of John replaces the 6th chapter of the Gospel of Mark in the lectionary, only in the B cycle at this time. Both Gospels concern the feeding of the 5,000. So now what you have in the Gospel of John is 71 verses over the next 4 weeks that deal with the aftermath of the feeding of 5,000. 2 images will come to mind. I am the bread come down from heaven, and beginning next week, my flesh is the bread of life for the world. In the Catholic community in particular, these verses have always been interpreted in terms of the Eucharist, the breaking of the bread, the sharing of the cup. And that is a fair, beautiful, and wonderful interpretation. We see it in liturgical Protestantism, Catholicism, and Eastern Orthodoxy. It's a sacramental interpretation of the bread come down from heaven. But if you remember, several years ago, Pope Benedict wrote an apostolic exhortation on the Eucharist. And in that apostolic exhortation, which is quite long, buried somewhere in the middle of it, is an astounding point of view. That what we celebrate at this table is directly related to how we treat the poor in the street. That somehow or another it would make no sense to gather around that table and receive if the table of our own heart did not become a place of generosity and openness to all people. You are an extraordinary parish simply because of that opening song. Not everywhere in the country or the world would sing that song with the enthusiasm with which you sang it. All are welcome here. Even those who are sinful, even those who are failed, even those who are ashamed, are welcomed here. It's one thing to sing it. It's another thing to live it. And as we know, as we ponder over the life of this parish, you have not been afraid to sing what you do and do what you sing. If you've ever been rejected, then you know what it is to be welcomed. If you've ever been shamed, then you know what it is to be uplifted. So this is not simply a place where we come to worship God and interrupt the ordinariness of our lives. It's a place where we come to perceive the presence of God in every moment of our lives. As beautiful as the liturgy can be, it still comes down to the breaking of bread and the drinking of a cup. That this extraordinary presence of Jesus is found in our lives whenever we feed the hungry, whenever we uplift the shamed, whenever we forgive the sinner and welcome the stranger. Jesus makes a remarkable statement in the gospel today. All who come to me will not hunger. I wonder if that's true of me. Can I say, anyone who comes to me will not hunger? Here's what I saw one year, walking down the street in a city. There was a man sitting on a curb, dejected. You know how sometimes life can be so terrible that all you can do is put your head down and cry. And there was a little coffee shop close by to where the man was. And this man came out of the coffee shop with a bag, and he handed it to the man on the curb. The man on the curb was surprised, and he looked in the bag and he smiled and said, "Oh, thank you so much." And it was a sandwich, a turkey sandwich, a bag of potato chips and something to drink. I might call that an ordinary lunch. For this man, it was an extraordinary feast. I watched in amazement, who is this man with generosity that came out of the coffee shop? Then I saw something that touched me deeply. Another man came and sat down next to the man who had the sandwich. And he looked worse than the guy who had the sandwich. And the man who had the whole sandwich looked at his friend and said, "Are you hungry?" "Yes." And he broke his sandwich in half and gave it to him. The man coming out of the coffee shop, anyone who comes to him will not hunger. The man on the curb who was starving, anyone who came to him would not hunger if he had food to share. Sometimes when we read the Bible, we think, it's too deep. I'll never figure that out. What we celebrate here today, what we do with a morsel of bread and a sip of wine, invites us to answer that question of Jesus. Will anyone hunger if they come to you? Will anyone hunger if they come to me? It's my prayer for you, and I beg that it be your prayer for me, that the answer will be, no one, Lord, no one will hunger. For if we have received the bread of life of your love from you, give us the courage to share that love however we can with everyone we meet. Then our church, our homes, our workplaces, and our hearts will be a place indeed where all are welcomed. Be at peace.